If you are secretly automating your corporate job right now and using that newly freed time to just sit on your couch, you are literally engineering your own firing. Listen to me. It is just a matter of time before your paycheck goes straight to zero.
People think they found this massive cheat code,
Right.
but they just built their own replacement.
Welcome to AI Market Mint.
Turn AI into income, turn knowledge into freedom.
Look, I see this exact scenario every single day. I talk to junior analysts, mid-level managers, and they string together, a few basic prompts.
Yeah, they automate their weekly reporting
Oh, right.
or their data entry.
Exactly. They take what used to be a grueling 40-hour grind and they compress it down into, maybe 10 minutes of actual processing time?
Yeah, maybe 15 minutes if the server is slow.
Right. And what do they do with the other 39 hours and 50 minutes? They stream movies. They play video games.
They brag about it in their group chats. I mean, they genuinely feel like they beat the Matrix. And, it is a massive dopamine hit.
Oh, absolutely.
Offloading that boring, repetitive work feels incredible. But there is this massive, dangerous, emotional disconnect happening. People want the reward of the automation, but they completely ignore the heavy responsibility of upgrading their actual value to the market.
Because they forget the most brutal fact of corporate infrastructure. The company owns the machine.
Precisely. The company owns the machine. You built this automated workflow on their time using their proprietary data to solve their internal processes.
And the absolute second your boss realizes that the output is happening without your brain involved, you're done. Your paycheck goes to zero. You have essentially taken your only negotiating chip, your ability to do that specific, tedious task, and just handed it over for free.
Yeah, but let's play devil's advocate for a second, because I know people listen to this and think, well, if the work gets done and it's flawless, maybe even better than a human could do it, shouldn't the worker be rewarded with that free time?
I hear that lazy finance thinking all the time.
Right. But it makes sense emotionally. Doesn't the company just care about the result?
They care about the result, but they are not going to pay a massive premium for a human if the human isn't generating the value. If the software does the work, they just buy the software. Expecting a full-time salary for pressing a button means you fundamentally misunderstand what a job actually is.
Exactly. It's like walking into your garage and spending weeks building this incredibly intricate machine. You're oiling the gears, sanding the wood, taking pictures for your friends.
You're just so proud of her.
You're thrilled.
Yeah.
Until someone walks in and points out, you just built a guillotine.
Yeah.
And you are standing right under the blade, holding the release rope. You're just waiting for the rope to slip.
That is a perfect analogy. So to understand why so many incredibly smart people are falling for this, we have to look backward, right? We have to look at how society designed jobs in the first place.
Yes, because we are all operating on a completely outdated model. For a century, the corporate environment conditioned us to value physical presence over actual leverage.
We're still dealing with the factory floor hangover.
Exactly. The Industrial Revolution built this rigid system. You clock in, sit at your assigned station, do your repetitive task, and clock out. When we transitioned to the knowledge economy, we didn't change the model. We just moved the factory into an office building with air conditioning.
We traded manual repetition for cognitive repetition.
Yeah, and sitting at a desk for 8 hours became the accepted proxy for productivity. Even if you only did, 2 hours of real deep work.
You still had to be there for 8.
Right. And the financial structure of compensation perfectly matched that physical requirement. A salary job is essentially what the financial world would call a call option on your time.
Wait, Lily, a call option on your time sounds technical. What does that actually mean for a normal person?
Simple. It just means you are selling the exclusive right to your future labor at a fixed discount. Imagine it like renting out a luxury apartment to a tenant for 10 years at a locked-in, artificially cheap rate. Even if the neighborhood becomes a billionaire playground and property values skyrockets, the tenant, your employer, gets all the upside because they locked in your rate.
Because historically, human cognitive labor was the ultimate bottleneck. If a firm wanted more financial analysis, they literally had to hire more humans. Brains were the scarce resource.
Exactly, and that is the massive macroeconomic shift we are living through today. AI has completely removed that bottleneck. Basic cognitive labor is no longer scarce. It is practically free.
But people are still operating on those old factory settings.
Assuming their time is the scarce asset, it's like the global electrification shift. The mechanics who specialized entirely in maintaining old steam engines and absolutely refused to learn electrical engineering didn't just lose their jobs,
Their entire economic foundation collapsed.
because the underlying technology of the entire economy changed.
Okay, but if history shows us that resisting a technological shift is that disastrous, why are people still clinging to it? Like, why hide the automation and watch Netflix instead of adapting?
It comes down to deeply rooted psychological biases. You have the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people drastically overestimate the complexity of their own work. They think, oh, a machine could never do my job. It takes too much nuance.
Which is completely delusional.
It is. Then you have status quo bias.
Yeah.
But the most dangerous one is normalcy bias. Refusing to prepare for a disaster simply because your house hasn't burned down yet. You see massive tech layoffs on the news and think, well, my job is safe.
Which brings us to Steve.
Oh, the story of Steve is the perfect example of this.
Look, everyone knows a Steve. He was a mid-level financial analyst at this regional logistics firm. Over 5 grueling years, Steve built this hyper-specific, massive Excel macro ecosystem.
The classic spreadsheet guy. Every office has one.
He tracked supply chain bottlenecks, inventory delays, shipping costs, everything. He had absolute domain authority. If the executives needed a quarterly projection, they had to go through Steve.
He essentially held the company's data hostage through sheer complexity.
Exactly. And mentally, Steve treated that convoluted, slow process as his ultimate job security.
Because he equated friction with value. He thought, well, because this is hard for me to do, it must be incredibly valuable to the company.
But then the landscape shifts. The logistics firm integrates a custom AI model. In just 3 days, over a single weekend, this model ingests the entire historical database. It maps the supply chain, understands the variables, and starts outputting real-time projections.
So his 5 years of proprietary, painstakingly built knowledge became a legacy bottleneck in 72 hours.
Right. And pay attention to how Steve reacted, because this is the trap. A rational actor would look at that AI and say, amazing, the boring work is done. What higher level problem can I solve now?
But Steve fell victim to the sunk cost fallacy. Instead of adapting, he spent the next 3 months aggressively arguing with his managers that the AI's formatting margins were slightly off.
He nitpicked the presentation of the data to justify his own existence. He actually tried to compete with a machine on speed and accuracy.
And you cannot outcompute an algorithm. He was fired in November.
It is a brutal ego check. We anchor our value to our previous output rather than our current replacement cost. You tell yourself, I used to produce 10 reports a week. Now I use AI and produce 10 reports in an hour. Therefore, I am a productivity god.
But the market has no memory. It only cares about the current replacement cost of that output. If an AI subscription costs $20 a month, your total value to the company for that specific task just plummeted to $20 a month. If you are deeply emotionally attached to your current workflow, you are nothing but dead weight.
But let's say Steve didn't get fired immediately. Let's say he kept getting away with hiding his automation. Psychologically, he feels great, but financially, he is bleeding out. We have to talk about the brutal math of this situation.
We do, because people do not understand the compounding cost of their own complacency.
Yeah.
When you waste that newly freed time, you trigger a massive financial cascade.
Let's run the actual numbers, because this is where people get lazy. Imagine you make $120,000 a year. That's roughly $60 an hour. You brilliantly automate half your job. You free up 1,000 hours a year. And you spend that time shopping online or taking afternoon naps. You feel like a genius.
But you are ignoring opportunity cost. The hidden wealth you lose by not choosing the most profitable option available. By not deploying those 1,000 hours into acquiring high-leverage skills, you are actively depreciating your own market value.
Wait, Lily, opportunity cost sounds technical. What does that actually mean for a normal person?
Simple. It just means the hidden penalty of not choosing the most profitable option available to you. Imagine it like leaving $1 million in a checking account, making 0 interest while inflation eats it, instead of putting it in an asset that grows.
Right. And speaking of inflation, that 120 grand is eroding while you sit on the couch. Inflation is running at what, 3–4%? Taxes take a huge bite. Your real spendable capital is shrinking every single year.
And then the inevitable happens. The company audits the server logs. They realize you're only actively working 20 hours a week, and they fire you.
So what happens then? Let's say you enter a flooded job market and you're out of work for 6 months.
That is $60,000 in gross wages gone immediately.
But it gets so much worse. To survive those 6 months to pay your mortgage, you have to liquidate $30,000 from your investments.
And you aren't just losing 30 grand today. You are losing the compound interest on that capital for the rest of your life.
Wait, Lily, compound interest sounds technical. What does that actually mean for a normal person?
Simple. It just means your money makes money, and then that new money makes even more money. Imagine it like a snowball rolling down a hill, gathering more snow and getting exponentially bigger the longer it rolls.
And when you liquidate to survive unemployment, you are literally smashing the snowball. If you left that 30 grand in an index fund returning 8% for 20 years, that is over $130,000.
Exactly.
So because of lost compound interest, slacking off today effectively robs your future retirement account of a small fortune. That afternoon nap is literally a six-figure mistake.
There is a strict corporate math at play here that people ignore.
Corporations borrow money at, say, 5 to 7%. But to keep shareholders happy, they demand a return on invested capital of 15 to 20%. If your salary doesn't generate that massive multiple, the math dictates you will be systematically removed. You are a negative yielding asset.
AI is a hyperdeflationary force on cognitive tasks. The base cost of analyzing a balance sheet or generating code is trending rapidly towards zero. The comfortable, bloated margin we used to live in is gone.
If you are blindly trading time for money without adding strategic value, you are the friction. They will eliminate you.
So practically speaking, you have a closing window of roughly 36 months. You have to choose between two vastly different career trajectories right now.
Let's call them Path A and Path B. Path A is the victim path.
This is the passive route most people take. You hide your automation, ride out the easy months, take some vacations, feeling completely flush with free time.
Until the company brings in an efficiency consultancy. They check the server logs, realize mathematically you are superfluous, and you get called into a 15-minute virtual HR meeting. And you're out.
And the true nightmare of Path A is the next day. You enter a permanently floated job market. Everyone else played the same game and lost. And you quickly find out that the new jobs don't pay $120,000 anymore.
Because the new baseline expectation for an entry-level kid armed with AI is equal to what a senior director was producing 3 years ago. You are forced to take a 50% pay cut just to get back in the building.
It is a permanent structural reset of your earning capacity.
But then there's Path B, the apex predator route.
It's aggressive, high-leverage strategy. You become structurally indispensable. You automate your workflow on day one, but you absolutely do not hide it. You take that newly freed bandwidth and aggressively hunt for massive inefficiencies across the rest of the company.
Okay, hold on. Let's live in reality for a second. If I walk into my boss's office tomorrow and say, hey, I automated my entire job and I have nothing to do, they aren't giving me a promotion. They're giving me a cardboard box to pack up my
It
desk.
feels risky, I know.
Yeah.
But the actual highest risk move you can make is being useless. True leverage comes from absolute transparency combined with being the only person who knows how to calibrate the new machine.
I need a concrete example. Let's imagine a mid-level marketing manager named Sarah.
Perfect. Under Path A, Sarah automates her weekly campaign reports and spends Friday afternoons online shopping.
Right.
Under Path B, Sarah still automates her reports, but instead of hiding, she looks around. She realizes the sales team is spending 15 hours a week manually copy-pasting lead data from her marketing campaigns into their database. It's a massive, expensive bottleneck.
So Sarah uses her free time to build an automated workflow connecting marketing directly to sales. She walks into the VP of sales office, not even her own boss, and says, I just gave your 10 reps 20 hours a week back to actually close deals. I automated my old job, so now I want to manage cross-department revenue operations.
Boom. She just built a moat. She transitioned from an operational expense to a strategic asset driving revenue. She presented a blueprint that saves money and forces a renegotiation of her value based on new revenue.
Even if they somehow let her go, she now possesses the exact proprietary skill set required to go consult for their competitors.
Exactly. Her leverage is internal and external.
So how do you actually execute Path B starting tomorrow morning? How do you go from dependent employee to a one-person holding company?
It requires a rigid four-step execution framework. Step 1 is the audit. You ruthlessly map out every single deliverable you owe your employer.
Every spreadsheet, status email, slide deck, you can't automate what you haven't defined.
Exactly. Step 2 is automate. You quietly automate the bottom 80% using API integrations and advanced prompting.
And let's be clear. Are we expecting an accountant to learn Python overnight?
Not at all. An API integration is just a digital bridge. You use no-code platforms where you literally drag and drop instructions. Like when an invoice arrives in this inbox, extract the total and put it in this Excel row. It is basic logic, not coding.
Right, so you secure that massive block of free time. Then, step 3, identify.
You find the company's most devastatingly expensive bottleneck. Where are people complaining? What messy data set does nobody want to touch?
And step 4, package. You don't just hand over a quick fix and walk away.
You present the solution as a new systemic architecture that you completely control. You hold the master keys.
You stop being the replaceable bricklayer and become the master architect. But Lily, people fail at this all the time because they try to rely on free tools. Oh, entirely. You cannot pull this off with basic free AI. To analyze corporate bottlenecks, you need enterprise-grade reasoning. You need models that can ingest complex, messy corporate architecture.
Right. Trying to reorganize your company's data structure with a free-tier AI is like trying to excavate a skyscraper foundation with a plastic beach shovel. You need heavy machinery. And honestly, trying to build these systems from scratch is why so many people give up.
Which is why having the right unified infrastructure is completely non-negotiable. It simplifies the execution. You need a platform that handles the advanced prompting and integration securely, so you can actually focus on being the architect, not just wrestling with the code.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Look, we put the official verified links in the pinned comment below. Don't go searching randomly and get scammed. Use the ones we've checked.
It really is the cost of entry for leverage today.
As we wrap this up, the message is crystal clear. The era of treating your time for money is dead. We are watching an unprecedented transfer of wealth from the deeply complacent to the hyper-adaptable. You must actively capture the margin AI creates before the market, or the person sitting next to you captures it for you.
So look at your daily workflow tomorrow. If your employer's primary product or service was completely automated by an algorithm, what uniquely human strategic insight could you pivot to offering them that a machine could never replicate? Figure that out, and you will never be trapped. Don't let the future leave you behind. Start earning.